The small rented room, filled with the smoke of incense, belongs to Taidy, a 32-year-old woman whose life seems bugged. There's no space on her desk for a computer, cluttered with miniature deities, colorful gemstones, and gold leaf offerings for good fortune. The warm, oppressive lighting creates a stuffy atmosphere. Taidy believes that if she asks enough, her life will improve someday. May this lottery win be big. May I get a job. May my lover return. She whispers the same phrase repeatedly as she sprinkles holy water on her empty wallet. But the more she tries, the more cramped the small room becomes, like the hopes bottled up inside her heart. A phone screen lights up in the dark room. The meager remaining balance contrasts sharply with the surrounding auspicious objects. A short notification from her banking app rings, loud enough to shatter any hope. 142 baht. That's the answer to everything she believes in, and it's not the answer she wants at all. I've done everything, worn auspicious colors, changed my phone number, bought the latest auspicious wallpaper. Or am I not praying enough? Or do the gods not appreciate my efforts? Taidy slumped into the middle of the room, surrounded by many auspicious objects, yet her face was empty. She didn't lack anything, but she was lacking something invisible. The more she chased after solace, the more she felt like a hungry person, even surrounded by everything she thought she needed. One night, as she walked home in the pouring rain, Taidy decided to take a shortcut she'd never noticed before. Taidy took the wrong turn, or perhaps it was the right turn for the first time. A small light illuminated a narrow, rain-soaked alley. The alley was silent, the dim light reflecting on the water's surface. A small wooden shop stood out, seemingly out of place. There was no sign, only the faint scent of agarwood drawing her in more than her fear. Is there a shop like this? Inside, the shop was warm yet mysterious. It was filled with mirrors and old books and strange objects. An old woman sat still behind the counter. Her eyes were clear and bright like a baby's, yet calm like the ocean. "Looking for a new amulet, are you?" the old woman said without looking up. "How did you know?" Taidy asked, surprised. She hadn't even spoken yet, but it was as if someone already knew everything about her. The silence in the shop, more powerful than any answer. "Taidy, I just want something that will really make my life better. I'm tired of failing." The old woman slowly put down her brush, her gaze calm. The atmosphere was so quiet you could hear their breathing. The old woman: "You're not lacking amulets, my daughter. You're using the wrong formula." Some words aren't loud, yet they resonate deeper than anything. And that night, Taidy began to wonder for the first time that the problem might not be what she lacked, but rather the way she had lived her life all along. The old woman reached for a simple, leather-bound notebook and handed it to Taidy. Delicate gold lines were engraved on the cover, reflecting off it. Taidy excitedly opened it. She expected to see ancient talismans or secret incantations, but she found only emptiness. "Is this the secret formula? There's nothing here." Taidy expected to find a life-changing answer, but what she got was emptiness, just like her life now. The first page of the notebook had glowing letters, a short message. The more you hoard, the more you lose. The more you give, the sweeter it becomes. Taidy looked confused before bursting into laughter. "Grandma, is this a line from a children's Buddhist textbook? I paid to get rich, not to become a saint. I want money. I want a job, not to be a good person." Sometimes the truth is so simple that we don't believe it. Taidy saw it as just an ordinary sentence, because she was looking for something more complex. The old woman smiled calmly. A soft light shone on Taidy's face. Taidy stood still, her expression becoming serious. Old woman, and what do you think truly rich people are like? Are people who clutch money because they're afraid of losing it, or are people who let go of money because they know they have plenty? Taidy argued, because I don't have any, that's why I'm possessive. The old woman, that's exactly why you don't have any. The old woman replied curtly, try it. If this formula doesn't work, you can come back and burn down my shop. The answer wasn't difficult, but it was difficult because it contradicted what we've always believed. That night, Taidy didn't just get a notebook. She got a question that would change her life forever. That morning, the sky was so gloomy, it felt like it was weighing down the whole world. People walked past the train station. Taidy stood frozen, clutching a crumpled 100-baht note, sweat beading on her forehead despite the cool air. The beggar sat there, his skin wrinkled, his eyes hollow and empty, like someone who had given up on life. Before handing the money to the beggar, "Take it," she murmured. Her hand trembled slightly as she placed the money down, but her heart was anything but at peace. "I've given. Now it's the world's turn to give to me." She walked away quickly, as if afraid she would change her mind. It seemed like giving, but deep down, it was an exchange. Taidy hadn't let go. She was expecting something with all her heart. All day she waited. Taidy stared at her phone. Notification sounds, incoming calls, a miracle. But nothing happened. The screen lit up, contrasting with her increasingly hopeless expression. Why hasn't anything happened? Or does it really not work? She waited for a notification, waited for a miracle, but silence, that was the only answer she received. In the evening, she returned to her room, her stomach aching with hunger. She opened the closet, empty. She opened her bag, empty. Taidy sat eating noodles soaked in cold water, tears unknowingly falling. Her wallet lay empty beside her. Is this the secret recipe? She laughed dryly. Or maybe the world is just cruel. There's nothing to give back to anyone. Hunger wasn't the most painful thing, but the feeling that she might have been wrong all along. And sometimes, the feeling of being stupid hurts even more than having nothing at all. The shop door was flung open, and sunlight streamed in. Taidy stood, breathing heavily, her face filled with frustration. "You deceived me." Taidy's voice wasn't loud, but it was heavy. The old woman remained seated, motionless. "I gave away my last bit of money, but all I got was hunger. Is that what you call good energy?" Sometimes pain doesn't calm us down. It makes us explode. Taidy wasn't just angry at the world, she was angry at her own hopes. The old woman sat still, her face calm. Old woman, when you gave, what were you saying to the world? Taidy listened, frozen as if time had stopped. The light in the shop softened. Taidy remained still. "I was saying I wanted it back." "No." The old woman shook her head. "You were saying, I'm lacking. Please, fill me up quickly." Those words were like knives. Some words aren't spoken aloud, but they cut deep. Taidy began to see things she never wanted to see. Your giving was filled with the fear of not being enough, filled with the expectation of receiving something in return. And deepest, it's the anger the world hasn't given you. Taidy's breathing became heavy. And what's wrong with that? People who have nothing have to struggle. "Nothing's wrong," the old woman said softly, "but it will keep you in the same place for the rest of your life." Silence fell. You're not poor because you don't have money. You're poor because your heart is constantly begging. Taidy lowered her head, tears welling, her hands clenched. The old woman looked at her with compassion. The atmosphere was quiet. Taidy, then what should I do to give when I have almost nothing? The old woman, give things that don't make you feel like you're dying, and give without secretly bargaining with the universe in your heart. The truth isn't difficult, but it's difficult because it conflicts with what we hold on to. That night, Taidy lost nothing more, but she began to let go of something, and that might be the beginning of everything. Taidy's transformation wasn't beautiful. It was uncomfortable, forced, and sometimes felt like a betrayal of herself. The office was closed in the evening, and people were starting to go home. Taidy hesitated beside her desk, a junior colleague sitting stressed in front of her computer. "Sister Taidy, I lost all my files," the junior colleague said, her voice trembling. Taidy glanced at the clock. She wanted to go home. She wanted to escape. She wanted to live her own life. "And what does that have to do with me?" a voice whispered in her head. But she sighed. "Taidy, I'll help you." The transformation didn't begin with a desire, but it began with forcing herself to do something against her will. She didn't want to help, but she chose to help. The street at night, warm lights. On her way home, she saw an emaciated dog. She stopped and hesitated. "I barely have enough to eat myself." But in the end, she bought some grilled pork. "Take it." It ate hungrily without even looking up at her. There was no gratitude, no thanks, just survival. Taidy watched and chuckled softly. This is the real world. And that was the first time it began. True giving. That night, Taidy slept soundly for the first time in months, without needing anything. The soft morning light streamed in. His face was calm. "It's strange. I didn't have to try to sleep tonight. No more money, no miracles, but something felt lighter in his heart. And perhaps true change doesn't begin with what we receive, but with what we choose to let go of." In a mysterious shop with soft, warm light, Taidy stood talking to an old woman, her expression calmer than before, a stark contrast to the first time. Taidy spoke slowly. "I'm still poor, but I'm not afraid anymore." The old woman nodded. "That's it, the beginning of wealth." Taidy said, "It sounds contradictory." "The world is always contradictory," the old woman replied. "Sometimes what changes first isn't life itself, but our feelings towards life. When fear disappears, what was once heavy begins to lighten." Taidy stood still, her face deep in thought, her eyes reflecting a soft light. The atmosphere around them was quiet. "Taidy, what if I give and in the end I don't get anything back?" The old woman looked directly into her eyes. "Then you will know that you can give without expecting anything in return, and that is the freedom that most people will never experience." Those words silenced Taidy for a long time. The answer was simple yet powerful. Wealth may not be something we can hoard, but it is the moment when we no longer have to chase after anything. Everything collapsed in one night. Life savings vanished, with the company that shut down and disappeared. The room was silent. Taidy sat motionless on the floor, the light dimming. Her phone lay beside her, her face blank. It's all gone. Everything. In one night. Sometimes life doesn't fall apart gradually. It collapses all at once and leaves only a silence, heavier than any words. The phone rang. "Taidy, I'm broken." Her friend's voice trembled. "My child needs surgery. I have no money." Taidy closed her eyes. Images flashed through her mind. Fear, poverty, uncertainty. "This is where most people revert to their old ways," a voice whispered. She opened her banking app. The final number appeared. She chuckled softly. Life plays cruel tricks. Taidy held the phone, her hands trembling slightly, the screen illuminating her face. Her eyes were filled with hesitation, her finger hovering over the transfer button. If I transfer it, I might have nothing left. She took a deep breath. Then she pressed. Take it. At least you have more reason to fight than I do. This wasn't just giving, but it was a choice between fear and what she wanted to be. And this time, she didn't choose fear. Taidy leaned against the wall, tears streaming down her face, but her expression strangely relaxed. A soft light began to filter in. I'm not running away anymore. These tears weren't from sadness, but from something being let go of. Fear, attachment, and the attempt to control everything. For the first time, Taidy faced life without trying to run away from it. A week later, something unexpected happened. The office was brightly lit. Taidy stood talking to a middle-aged man in a suit. A younger colleague stood smiling beside them. The atmosphere was professional and warm. Call him. Dad, this is the man who helped me that day. It turned out that the younger colleague she had helped was the daughter of the owner of a major business partner. Middle-aged man, we were just looking for someone like you. Taidy received an offer for a coordination manager position with a salary 3 times higher than before. Some things we think are small may be remembered when we least expect them, and on a day we least expect it, it becomes a huge door. Taidy sat looking at her phone, a surprised expression on her face. Several messages and calls were coming in. The light lit up clearly. An old client who had been silent for years called to place a large order because they remembered Taidy having willingly helped them beyond their duties. An old client is back? And this? Another offer? And the friend she had given the last sum of money to suddenly inherited a fortune and returned the money to her with interest in the form of shares in a new company. She wasn't chasing anything anymore. Instead, things were slowly coming to her, as if the world was responding in its own rhythm. Taidy stood gazing into the distance, her face calm and confident. The soft sunlight illuminated her face, a look of contentment in her. Fortune is not something to be chased, but it will come when we are ready to give. Finally, she understood, not because she had received more, but because she had become a different person. And when the inside changes, the world outside will never be the same again. Taidy returned to the alley once more to thank the old woman, the same alley in broad daylight. Only old plaster walls remained. No wooden shops, no scent of agarwood, no mysterious light. Just empty space and a single mirror leaning against the wall. Where did that shop go? Or am I mistaken? Some places aren't meant to be returned to, because they are meant to guide us forward. Taidy began to understand that what she had encountered might not have been the real place. Taidy walked to the mirror, gazing at her reflection. In it, she no longer saw the gloomy, aristocratic woman. Instead, she saw a woman with a calm, confident face, sparkling eyes, and a contentment that money couldn't buy. Is this really me? She hadn't changed because of luck, but she had changed because she chose to change. What was different wasn't the world, but the person standing there. Taidy walked out of the alley confidently, holding a notebook to her chest. Sunlight streamed in from the front. The atmosphere was bright. Wealth is a refuge. Ultimately, the secret wasn't in the notebook, but it was in the way she lived her life. When she stopped asking and started giving, the world stopped testing and started responding. And that's the secret that nobody tells you. Giving isn't about losing. It's about opening the door for something good to flow in. The tighter we hold on, the more we unknowingly block good things. True wealth doesn't start with the money in our bank account. It starts with a heart that is full of generosity. And the day we stop being just receivers and choose to be givers, the world will reciprocate in ways we never expected.